So today is Saturday, right? Before I head out to picking up children, right? I just try to record a bit what I've been thinking through the weekend. I talked with a friend about, the latest acquisition. That is about 2 billion, I think. The Meta, Mark Zuckerberg's company. Bought up the Manus. It's a Singapore-based company, originated in China, right? And right after that, they declared they're going to cut all the ties and investors that of the Chinese origin, right? I guess it's for some sort of regulatory control, or whatever that calls motivation behind the scenes, right? No, that's not the question. The question is, what is really Mark Zuckerberg is up to? Lately, through the second half of the year, Alexandr Wang, the CEO of Scale AI, joined him, right? That's a strategic move. But after that, it's kind of the chief scientist, Yann LeCun, announced he's going to resign, I think, early January, soon, right? 2026. That's a surprise because he's been there. It's not a surprise, let's say that, right? Certainly could be a bit of dynamics there between Professor LeCun and Alexandr Wang, right? Who's heading the Superintelligence Labs, I believe, right? I think the change is to do with the pivoting from the open source to more or less closed source. I'm not sure it is real, but according to the leak, they developed some multimodal models and something that code like Avocado or something, or Mongo, whatever that is, but essentially it's a secret thing, closed source, right? Is that trying to compete with OpenAI and other big vendors? I'm not sure. Just try to find out what is the strategic motivation behind the scenes, right? And after that, the big surprise again is, it should not be using this price, the minus, right? The acquisition, right? That certainly makes sense, but really, piece it together, they have the glasses, right? It's like giving the language model not only the chat box kind of thing, right? But a hand and eye to action, to connect and function in the real physical world. Isn't that what Professor Yann LeCun proposed? Really advocate for many years. Like Fei Li started the World Labs. I've been also observing the robotics from the both sides, like US and China, right? I might do a bit of summary there, just thinking through like what are the strategic moves behind this, right? If you remember, like Mark Zuckerberg, it's a smart guy. You say that, right? The metaverse, right? Then even played with the Libra, the digital currency or cryptocurrency, if you will, right? It didn't really go anywhere, did it? But now is turning from the social media giants to something like AI, super intelligence, right? Certainly there are monies involved. You need to follow the money, but is anything bigger than that? Anything more worthy of monitoring? Certainly is the big company, right? Is one of those that individuals and businesses we need to watch for, which is why we build up such a stage for. We need to invite those conversations and try to make sense of it. Right? So let's listen to how a quick overview it is. It is not going to cut it using one session like this. I might dive deeper into this, and probably going to follow through the next months and years, right, to see where the heading and how they can accomplish, right? Okay, let's take a listen, right?
All right, let's get right into it. If you've been watching Meta's AI moves, it probably looks, well, kind of chaotic, right? Like a mad dash. They're throwing insane amounts of money at it, but Wall Street's scratching its head, and some of their biggest names are heading for the exit. So what is going on? Is there a grand plan behind all this madness? In this explainer, we're going to play detective, follow the clues, and piece together what Meta is actually building behind the scenes. So first things first, let's just try to wrap our heads around the scale here. $72 billion. That is Meta's projected capital expenditure for 2025. And to be clear, this isn't just a big tech number. It's bigger than the entire annual GDP of over 100 countries. It's a staggering amount of cash. And the vast majority of it? Yeah, it's being funneled directly into one thing: artificial intelligence. But here's where it gets weird. You'd think with that kind of spending, they'd have a crystal clear plan, right? Well, that's not what people on the outside are seeing. Reports from late 2025, like this one from CNBC, were painting this picture of a company that's totally lost, struggling to figure out its next move. Their stock was even lagging, and that's the central mystery. Why spend a fortune if you don't even have a clear direction? To solve this puzzle, we've got to start by looking inside the machine, because the first major clue to what Meta is really up to isn't in some glossy press release. No, it's in the absolute turmoil that completely blew up and reshaped their AI division. The second half of 2025 was just a total whirlwind for them. In June, you have Alexandr Wang, the founder of Scale AI, brought in to lead this new Superintelligence Lab. Right away, the culture shifts to this super intense demo don't memo vibe. Then, boom, layoffs start hitting key research teams. And it all caps off in November with the bombshell departure of Yann LeCun, one of the literal godfathers of modern AI. And LeCun did not go quietly. He made it pretty clear he wasn't a fan of the new leadership, pointing to some serious friction at the very top. You know, this wasn't just some guy leaving for a new job. It was a huge red flag that a massive internal battle over strategy and culture was going on. And that battle had real consequences. Remember the Llama models? They were Meta's big open source contribution, their pride and joy. Suddenly, they get pushed to the side. The new focus becomes a top-secret proprietary model codenamed Avocado. I mean, this is a complete 180, abandoning the open-source strategy that had basically defined them in the AI world up to that point. Okay, so all this internal chaos just raises an even bigger question. Why on earth would you be writing some of the biggest checks in tech history while your own house is on fire? And that brings us to our second clue. It's time to follow the money. In a span of just 6 months, Meta went on a shopping spree, dropping over $16 billion on 2 huge investments. Now, these weren't random. They were incredibly specific, surgical acquisitions that tell us a ton about their real game plan. So piece number 1 of the puzzle, a massive $14.3 billion investment for a nearly 50% stake in Scale AI. Why Scale AI? Because they are the best in the world at data annotation. Think of it like this. If AI is a brain, data annotation is the process of organizing its entire library, labeling every single book so it can learn properly. To build the smartest AI, you need the cleanest data. And Meta basically just bought control of the world's best fuel supply. Now, the second acquisition is maybe even more important. For over $2 billion, Meta snapped up Manus, which was easily the hottest startup in this new space called AI agents. Let's be really clear. An agent is not a chatbot. A chatbot answers a question. An AI agent understands a goal, like plan my trip to Miami this weekend, and then actually does it. Books the flights, finds the hotel, all without you having to lift a finger. And if you're wondering why they wanted Manus so badly, just look at this growth. They hit $100 million in annual recurring revenue in 8 months. 8! That's less than half the time it took the next fastest AI company. This wasn't some startup with potential. It was an absolute rocket ship that had found incredible, insane demand. So let's just put this into perspective. Buying Manus wasn't about making the little Meta AI assistant in Messenger a bit better. No, this was about buying their way into an entirely new kind of computing, a future where you just say what you want in plain English, and a powerful agent goes and makes it happen across all your apps. All right, so we've got the internal chaos that forced a new focus, and we've got these massive bets on data and agents. But where does all this powerful AI actually live? Well, our third and final clue connects this whole software strategy to a physical piece of hardware you can actually wear. That's right. The end game for all of this isn't some chat window on your computer. It's the Meta Ray-Ban smart glasses. This is the missing piece, the critical interface that connects that super powerful AI brain directly to your view of the real physical world. And if you look at the features they've been rolling out, it all starts to make sense. You can use your voice to create slick video effects, post stuff hands-free, or even track your workout by linking up to your health apps. You can literally look at something beautiful and say, "Hey Meta, play a song that fits this view," and it will generate a Spotify playlist on the spot. The glasses are becoming a real-life agent. Okay, let's recap. We have all our clues: the painful internal pivot, the multi-billion-dollar bets on data and agents, and the physical interface to connect it all to reality. Now we can finally put all the pieces on the board and see Meta's true, absolutely audacious goal. And here's how it all locks together. Step 1, the brain, a giant world-class AI model. Step 2, the fuel. Scale AI's data pipeline to make that brain smarter than everyone else's. Step 3, the hands. Manus's agent tech to let the AI actually do things for you. And the final piece, step 4, the eyes. The smart glasses, the interface. It's a complete, top-to-bottom, vertically integrated stack. So you see, what looked from the outside like a chaotic attempt to catch up to OpenAI was never really about that. The goal isn't just to win the AI race by building a better chatbot. No, the real goal is to build the next dominant personal computing platform. The goal is to replace the smartphone. This is an all-or-nothing bet. They're trying to own the entire ecosystem: the brain, the hands, and the eyes you wear on your face. So the real question isn't whether Meta can build a good AI. It's whether this incredibly ambitious, unbelievably expensive vision is actually the future of computing, or if we're all just watching the most spectacular, high-stakes gamble tech has ever seen.
So that is the nice quick view of what is going on, but yet to see whether that's correct or not. Right? We need to dive deeper and get more details, right? And it's not fixed. It's a strategic move for sure. But, let's get into a little more details, right? But we'll keep it short. Right? So overall, I think Mark is trying to add the hands and eyes to make the AI more, connect to the physical world and to be able to take action. That's where the revenue will be, right? In a proper way to put it, right? It's really try to blend in some new elements into the corporate DNA, right, to build next generation of operating system for reality, right? OpenAI is doing that, and other companies like Elon Musk, Google is catching up, right? So 2025 is more of a year of LLM, right? Large language model, right? Efficiency, right? They need to get down to earth, follow the money, the capital, the talent. There's going to be a lot of acquisitions, right? You heard of the NVIDIA got a company called Grok or something, right? We can look into that later on, right? So it's a pivot, right? It's a fundamental pivot. It's not really a cost correction. Nobody really can plan everything for the future. You have to adapt into, evolve into some sort of ecosystem. It's a marketplace, right? And you not totally can anticipate the other game player, right, competitor or partner is going to move, right? It's hard to coordinate, right? It's not planned, right? That used to be a social media giant. Now you're doing a bit of vertical integration, right? It's more focused on AI, super AI, try to dominate, as we know, agentic AI era, right? I like the term, really. I think Andrew Wu had a different term. I kind of forgot it, but similar. Agentic AI is better term in my mind, in my opinion, right? So yeah, it's not just about generate audio and video and PPT stuff. It's about taking actions. You have to execute complex tasks, right? I mean, frankly speaking, that's what miners gave to Meta, right? They have WhatsApp, Instagram, Facebook. There's a lot of subsidiaries or branches of business, where Alexandr Wang, it's kind of the data, right? You have to get data labeled and cleaned and, engineered and make it ready to use. And of course, you need to able to use the action to power the actions, right? You use the data to power actions, right? So we're going to look at the 5 pillars, right? The foundation, right? The unprecedented investment. I think it's kind of 70 billion, right? If I didn't remember, is kind of like bigger than most of the countries, maybe over 100 countries, the GDP, right? That's a huge amount of money, right? That's why it is significant. We really need to monitor it, right? It's unprecedented investment in compute and talent, right? The second pillar is obviously not beyond the money part, right? It's the brain, right? It's critic pivot to proprietary frontier models like multimodal, turning from the open source part where Yann LeCun used to lead, right? I would still prefer that, but in terms of money making, maybe in the US, it's not really the best strategy, open source, right? Unless you have the manufacturing industrial capacity, like China does, right? Then you could give it for free, but you can use it in manufacturing industry, right? You solve real world problems like do mining, manufacturing, you name it, cleaning even, right? Cooking, folding clothes, right? Serving in a hospital, right? Everywhere you can use AI. That will be kind of integrated with the robotics for sure, right? And that's also what China is trying to or have been catching up, right? And we need to do a bit of analysis. There are competitors for sure, right? So again, now the third one is the hand, right? Take actions. This acquisition is absolutely given the argumentation, the power to execute a layer for AI agent. Right? Now, interestingly, they added the hardware, which is the AI native interaction glasses, right? And I think Pascal Chan and Mark Zuckerberg's wife, right, doing some life science research using this AI, obviously, right? But that's also something to watch for, right? We're going to take a bit more detailed analysis later, right? Again, it's not one session covers all. We need to follow through. doing the journalism, we need to follow through as it evolve, right? Now let's go through this quickly. Right? Capital, obviously, talent war, right? As I said, the capex with 72 billion, right? It's quite big investment. This move, from open source to Avocado and Mongo, right? It's simply put it, Avocado is more an next-gen language model, multimodal, if you will. It's still generational leap, right? And 2026 is going to play out, hopefully. The Llama is open source. It's already about 650 million downloads. That's a lot, but that's really the credit to Professor Yann LeCun. That's a huge contribution to the AI community. Kudos, right? Now, the Mongo is multimodal, right? Designed for unified high-fidelity images and video generation, things like that. Like Sora, View is from Google, Sora is from OpenAI, right? Now, the cultural cost, obviously, the shift from the departure of chief AI scientist Yann LeCun, who cited a rift. I don't know whether it's true or not. One thing I want to comment is that I don't like people who complain a lot. I mean, I take criticism for sure. You can critique, but you have to move forward. But nothing is going to be perfect. You need to watch, to be wary, to be curious, right? But you cannot just complain, too much, unless you have an agenda behind it, right? That is where I would say that is signaling the departure and the new acquisition, a profound cultural transformation, right? And obviously, the Alexandr Wang is not so experienced as Yann LeCun, the chief AI scientist. But you have to say that Alexandr Wang made it into the top, I don't know how top, like 20, 30, or 10 richest guy. He's so young, right? He must have some talents or luck, right? One of the figures we need to watch, but we'll put together as part of the Meta league. So again, it's a strategic gap. We all know that, right? Between the brain and the hands, like real-world execution tasks, right? So we anticipate by 2034, we put 45 annual growth rate, the AI agent market, right? So we'll rush to capture that, right? And even me, right? I'm making an effort, right? Make sure that whoever my partners, whoever have an interest in me will benefit from my skills, which I need to think through for them, right? I don't think anybody have the time. I don't know the talent part, but experience and have the real world actually hands-on thing, right? And also a bit of executional strategic thinking, right? That takes skills, I'd say that, right? But you really have to follow through, think through day by day. Not going to be perfect today, because tomorrow something new is going to happen, right? Today, what is very promising, tomorrow may fall out, right? Like open source model or Llama, right? I don't know. It's going to be continue to progress. And the comment will be the Mistral from France, right? They invested some billions, like 27, something like that. I don't know if they're going anywhere, because doing AI and robotics, and not just by a language model, you have to look at your talent pool, right? Your infrastructure, your market, right? In a case where the miners was originated in China, but they left China to Singapore, that tells me a lot. It's a sad story. It's good for the company, but it's a sad story. It certainly means the overall soil, if you will, that the way that entrepreneurs, they too much competition, and they compete in a probably not well disciplined way, right? That Manus has to run to Singapore and to sell itself, right? It's good to get some financial gain, but also you lose your independence, right? Used to be an independent, promising company, right? You might have your innovation, right? The more you look at this kind of sad story, you look at the positive side. At least they successfully become part of the Meta and part of the success of Meta as well, right? And hopefully Meta is not just buy them to kill them, right? And just get rid of them, right? Just, and hopefully that's not the case. But we need to watch out for that as well, right? And because the Manus way of doing AI may not be the best way, may not even work tomorrow, right? May not fit into the new language or AI kind of the infrastructure and the capacity, right? We have to be fair to take a more scientific and engineering approach for looking at things, right? A good idea is kind of scarce, right? It's not too many, too little, right? But good ideas don't fly themselves, right? You need to go through the technology layer. You need to engineer a lot of talent, hard work to make it really, produce some result, generate revenue, right? I think they're doing well, Manus, right? They have some trillion tokens, right? They put in the numbers. That's encouraging. That's why we seal the deal, right? But let's keep monitor that, right? And see what we can learn, right? 2 billion solution, right? The virtualization first architecture, right? It is a technical breakthrough for sure beyond APIs, right? So unlike the Rebels that use predefined API tools, they employ a virtualization first design for each task. It spins up the ephemeral cloud-based virtual machine. They proud of how many machines they have built, right? A full computer for the AI. This VM is kind of innovation, isn't it? It's a Turing, you know what Turing is, complete, allowing the agent to install libraries, run headless browsers, and execute complex workflows without human intervention. That's fantastic, right? That's quite innovation. It gives the AI an actual computer, not just a calculator, right? That's what AI needs, a physical something, right? The performance-wise, consistently outperforms OpenAI's deep research on the whatever benchmark, right? So that's incredible. That's innovation, right? And I think another innovation obviously is the 3 actually from DeepSeek. Last year, obviously, they sparse attention, right? And then later on the year, they released 3 something. The 3. I forgot the actual code name, but it's not replacing Coda from NVIDIA, but they provide the integration layer, allow the domestically made the chips to be able to as powerful, clustered together as probably the Blackwell of NVIDIA. I mean, it's a bit more or less than that, but huge boost to the chip makers like Huawei and others, right, in China. Right? But because some sort of sanctions and controls export of the chips to China, right? That's a huge innovation. And the third one, I think it's just a couple days ago, they wrote a paper. I have to dig it out. I think it was investigating, right? It's kind of innovation. See how they're going to enable a bit of a departure from the transformer architecture, doing language model, right? And also doing agentic AI kind of thing, right? But now triggered from the virtualization first approach, which is quite amazing, right? So it is a fully independent computer. Now those are some numbers, right? They quickly grew up to 100 million. It's huge growth, right? 8 months, they able to really, landed in a deal that obviously benefits both sides, right? How 14.7 trillion tokens. Wow, that's a lot. And then, yeah, you look at the corporate journey, right? As I said, it's a successful story. It's a story, success worth celebration, right? It's also a sad story, right? The world is so kind of fractured, right? But tells me more about China, the way they are not really as disciplined for the business, at least not for the entrepreneurs, right? That's something that I think China need to improve on, right? You cannot just drive out all those companies, right? Why cannot they survive or thrive there, right? Okay, so the Manus CEO will become one of the VPs, right? Report to Meta COO. Okay, that's good. Well, it's a near-term product to play to be scaled, not a long-term research project. Hopefully it's not just acquire to kill, right? Yeah. Any case, that's probably not the best thinking, but that's one of the possibilities, right? Any case, we look at that. Okay, here's the glasses. It's intriguing, right? It's a micro LED projector, have a camera, is able to the reality lab heavy spending now we focus from virtual to AI integrated wearables, right? The strategy is to make smart glasses the primary hands-free interface for Meta's agentic AI. I don't like wear glasses, so much trouble, but I might get one of those if it is, free my hands. I don't like to wear watches and stuff or carry phones, maybe this is something that certainly interesting, right, to watch, right? Now look at it, the eyes, the hands, the brains and data center. Wow, the data center is a foundation, obviously, the massive compute and top talent, 70 billion plus capex. Alexandr Wang provides the raw power. This is incredible, right? The brain, obviously, they're going to develop the closed source frontier proprietary with Avocado and for logic and Mongo for multimodal, right? And then they have Manus AI that can as the hands to like robotic thing, right? They have the eyes, right? Ribbon display glasses, right? I think this tells the story, the Mark Zuckerberg's the meta strategy going forward, right? At least for the short term, maybe a couple of years. Then now, opportunity, right? Yeah, in the short term, the WhatsApp monetization will benefit from the acquisition, right? The agentic AI leadership, the first mover advantage is going to own a proven scaled agent product, allow the Meta to define the next major computing platform, right? The data mode, obviously, combination of scale AI labeling and Manus process, right? Yeah, data is still the problem, right? If anybody has real world experience, you concur, right? It's not because you have so much intelligence and you can easily fix the data problem, right? Because they are heavy lifting. It takes a lot of, it's like the industry, but it's a heavy part. It's not easy to get right, okay? But of course, right, on the risk side, it's heavy capital investment, 70 billion plus annual capex, right? Then could be a bit of fatigue. If you go over like 3 years, you don't see the substantial returns to justify investment, right? Then obviously the regulatory blockade, the managed acquisition, they have to cut all the ties, right? And integration of cultural fatigue, affiliate, right? Merging that that kind of culture, right? To the slightly more meta culture. You could see some talents exist, right? They might leave, right? They might join the competitors, right? Especially the folks working on Llama side is a major to handle the attrition side. Right? Okay, so really, we're not trying to spend too much time there. But what the quick conclusion here, right? So it is no longer a competing for your attention. It is racing to build the next operating system for reality. Oh, good catchy words, right? And isn't it the thing that everybody try to do? Like Sam Altman, Elon Musk, the Google, the Copilot is from Microsoft, right? And some others, Anthropic, AWS, they're quite few, right? And also in China side is quite strong, well, right? Maybe 7 big players is going to emerge to be not dominant, but at least very competitive, right? But they're open source, by the way, right? Any case, you're going to see a landscape of human-computer interaction for the next. That's what I like. That's kind of change the how we organized, how to build up the workforce, right? Humans and the term I put is like human beings and robotic beings, right? They have to work together, right? And many of those rules and regulations, the culture will change. You're going to see that become a new ecosystem, right? I don't think you can predict how the details, but overall, that's the direction. Okay, well, we're going to take a pause. We're going to continue, right? It's not one day thing we can finish, but it's a good start at least, right? So before we close, I'd like to invite 2 friends of mine, right, to join the conversation, to provide their views, right? So one of them is Max Fate, right? The other is Barasa, right? Barasa, right? So Max Fate and Barasa are going to talk through what I try to put forward. I think they could speak better, right? Maybe cover more kind of substances. Let's take a listen, right? And let's see how what is there.
Welcome to the Deep Dive. Today we are zeroing in on, well, a single massive gamble by one of the world's largest tech companies, Meta Platforms.
Right.
And if you thought the metaverse was their big bet, think again.
Oh yeah, this is so much bigger.
They are making an all-in play on artificial intelligence. And it's a story of, astronomical spending, high-stakes talent wars.
And a huge strategic pivot that affects every single one of their users, all 3.5 billion of them.
Exactly.
And it's more than just a pivot. It's a strategic realignment. I think it's driven by, desperation and opportunity in equal measure.
So what's our mission here?
Our mission is to filter out the noise.
Yeah.
We want to deliver the 3 crucial connected components of Meta's 2026 AI roadmap.
Okay.
So we're tracking the money, which is now approaching a staggering, $70 billion in projected annual capital spend for 2026.
An unbelievable number.
Then there's the extreme turbulence in their leadership and their dual product strategy, which, involves buying this missing link for AI agents and completely shifting their hardware focus.
What's immediately clear when you look at the source material is that Meta is having an identity crisis. And they've chosen a side.
They absolutely have.
They are moving away from being a social media giant and, maybe more importantly, aggressively abandoning their reputation as the world's biggest open source AI advocate.
Yeah, that part is tectonic. It changes the entire landscape of the AI arms race.
How so?
Well, for years, Meta earned goodwill by releasing its powerful Llama models with open weights. They were essentially giving away their research.
But good for the community, correct?
Exactly. But now, that era is over. The new focus is solely on proprietary, next-generation systems being developed under a rebranded, centralized division.
They're calling it the Meta Superintelligence Labs, or MSL.
MSL. It's their new sort of top-secret Manhattan project for AI. That's the right way to think about it.
So a total consolidation of power and focus.
And it's all being overseen by Alexandr Wang, who they brought in with that massive acquisition of Scale AI.
That gives them the data foundation they need to build something completely closed off.
Precisely.
And the fruits of this new lab have some very interesting code names.
Avocado and Mango.
Let's start with Avocado. The sources suggest this is the large language model that's meant to deliver a generational leap in coding capabilities.
It's all about closing that logic and reasoning gap. You know, the gap that's previously separated them from competitors like OpenAI and Google.
And it has a deadline.
It does. It's targeting a release in the first quarter of 2026. But the critical detail here, the absolute key, is that it is expected to be a closed proprietary model.
So no more open weights.
The era of free intelligence sharing is definitely over,
Mm-hmm.
at least for their most advanced systems.
And Mango, I'm guessing that's Meta's answer to the whole generative media craze.
You got it. Mango is their multimodal model, focused entirely on generating and understanding high-fidelity images and video.
So think of it as their weapon to compete with things like OpenAI's Sora.
Absolutely. Especially for content on Reels and Instagram, where they are really feeling the pressure from these new creative tools.
But this dramatic shift, I mean, moving from open source to these closed billion-dollar models, that had to come at a cost, right?
A huge cost.
The talent exodus seems to be one of the most fascinating parts of the story. We have to talk about Yann LeCun.
The departure of Yann LeCun, the godfather of modern AI. I mean, him leaving in November 2025 wasn't just an internal HR move. It was a public declaration of war against this new strategy.
He was the face of their open source movement for over a decade.
For 12 years, yeah. And his resignation was reportedly fueled by this exact philosophical rift, the move away from open weights.
And he didn't go quietly. He immediately launched a competing venture.
He did. And it challenges the fundamental assumptions Meta is now making.
This new startup is called Advanced Machine Intelligence Labs, AMI Labs.
AMI Labs, yeah. And it's based in Paris, which is a deliberate choice, I think, to distance himself from Silicon Valley's obsession with just building slightly better LLMs.
So what are they focused on?
They call them world models. So these are AI systems designed to actually understand the physical world, to reason, and to plan complex actions, not just predict the next word in a sentence.
The stakes are just astonishingly high. AMI Labs is already seeking a valuation of, what, $3.5 billion before it's even really operational.
And the fight is happening in public. LeCun has openly called Alexandr Wang, who's now running all of MSL.
He called him inexperienced.
Inexperienced, yeah. And he's predicting more Meta AI employees are going to follow him out the door.
It just highlights this massive cultural risk Meta is taking. They're basically trading institutional loyalty for what they see as strategic necessity.
But then you look at that $70 billion projected annual spend.
That number again.
I mean, it's an astronomical figure for a single year. You start to realize maybe they feel like they don't have a choice.
How do you possibly justify spending that kind of money?
Well, you can't spend $70 billion on models that everyone else can just copy and use for free, right? The AI arms race is just too expensive now.
Right.
Altruism is unaffordable at that scale.
So they're under pressure.
Enormous pressure to translate that raw computing power into real, marketable, and highly profitable products. And that pressure, it leads us right to the second part of their roadmap.
The acquisition.
The acquisition that bought them a product overnight.
Right, which brings us to one of the most stunning deals of 2025. Meta desperately needed a consumer-facing AI product, something beyond just the Llama models.
And they got one. Fast.
They answered this with the aggressive, very rapid acquisition of a Singapore-based startup called Manus.
In December 2025, the reported value was over $2 billion.
Which makes it Meta's third largest acquisition ever.
Manus was the missing piece. It was the operational layer. Think of Llama as this incredibly powerful brain. But a brain, on its own, it doesn't do things. It doesn't have hands or feet. Manus provides these general-purpose AI agents that can autonomously handle complex tasks.
Like what?
Like deep market research, writing complex code, managing customer relationships. It's the execution engine. It puts the model to work. Because a model doesn't equal a product.
And Manus gave them the product. And the commercial proof for that $2 billion price tag, That's why they move so quickly.
Had to be.
Manus hit $125 million in annual recurring revenue in just 8 months.
8 months. That velocity is, it's the fastest an AI application has ever reached the $100 million mark.
That must have immediately validated the investment for Meta.
Absolutely. That kind of speed proves product market fit in a way that just having a powerful LLM never could. But the acquisition did bring up some tricky geopolitical issues.
Right, the Chinese roots.
Exactly. Manus originated from a Chinese startup called Butterfly Effect.
Which sounds like a major compliance headache for a U.S. company right now.
It was. The deal was only finalized after Meta guaranteed there would be, and this is the quote, no continuing Chinese ownership interests.
Wow.
And on top of that, Manus had to agree to completely shutter all of its services and operations inside mainland China. So this wasn't just a business deal. It was a complex geopolitical cleanup.
So once they clear that hurdle, what's the plan? How do they make their money back?
Total integration. They're scaling Manus's agent technology across their entire ecosystem.
Into Meta AI, Facebook, Instagram.
And especially WhatsApp. That's the key. The goal is to reach billions of users, but the real money is in business.
How so?
They're going to leverage these agents to dramatically improve ad targeting, of course, but also to automate customer service and sales.
Yeah.
Think about it. There's over 1 billion active threads between consumers and businesses on their messaging platforms right now.
Giving those businesses an AI agent to handle sales or support instantly?
It's an unbelievably lucrative prospect.
Yeah. Okay, so that connects the software piece. But if the ultimate goal is to make AI assistants totally seamless, ubiquitous, they can't have people pulling out their phones all the time.
No, you need a hardware solution that keeps the AI present but invisible.
And that takes us to the third part of the roadmap, the pivot away from the metaverse headsets and toward AI wearables.
The sources confirm it. The struggling VR division is actively diverting resources to AI glasses. They're betting on the practical, everyday utility of augmented reality.
Over the sort of immersive but isolating nature of the Quest headset.
Exactly. And this shift is being driven by actual consumer success, which is a big change from Meta's hardware division.
A huge change. The sales figures for the Ray-Ban Meta glasses reportedly tripled.
Tripled year over year in the first half of 2025. That kind of market validation is irresistible.
And they're scaling up production accordingly.
They are. They are not treating this as a niche product anymore. Meta is aiming for a production capacity of 10 million units a year by the end of 2026.
10 million. To hit those numbers, they need some serious next-gen hardware.
Which they introduced. The $799 Meta Ray-Ban display glasses.
So what's the big leap forward here? It's not just a camera and speakers anymore, is it?
The key feature is the discrete micro-LED display. It's actually inside the lens, and it projects things like captions or directions right into your field of view without blocking your sight.
And that's paired with something called the Meta-neural band.
Yeah, a wrist strap that reads subtle muscle movement.
A wrist strap that reads muscle movements? That sounds like something out of science fiction.
It's the ultimate hands-free interface. It lets you control the display or dismiss alerts without ever touching the frames or, having to use a clumsy voice command in public.
So it's designed for silent, immediate interaction.
Exactly. And it has all the core agent features built in. Instant voice translation, live navigation, messaging, all with a pretty practical 6-hour battery life.
For you, the listener, the relevance of this is pretty huge. These devices are being positioned as the solution to too many screens syndrome.
They call it heads-up focus.
Heads-up focus. Instead of looking down at your phone, the information is just there.
Right. And that phrase defines their target market. Imagine a logistics manager or a field service tech who needs real-time instructions without having to juggle a tablet. That's the application that makes the price point justifiable for businesses.
And the software is moving fast, too. The December 2025 updates brought in things like hyperlapse video.
But the athlete intelligence features were really telling.
That's their move into fitness, right? Initially on the Oakley models.
Yes. It lets the glasses connect directly to your Garmin or Apple Health data for workout tracking. It's a clear strategy to make the glasses a primary interface for health, directly challenging things like the Apple Watch.
Just by making the AI even more seamless.
And less obtrusive.
So, when we put this all together, the philosophical break, the $70 billion, the Manus acquisition, the hardware pivot, what does this all tell us about Meta's survival strategy?
It tells us they've successfully built a full, vertically integrated AI supply chain. They got the data with Scale AI, They bought the product execution layer with Manus.
And crucially, they already have the distribution channel.
The unparalleled distribution channel, those 3.5 billion daily active users, now being accessed through a new heads-up hardware interface. They are not a social media company anymore. They are a fully integrated, closed-loop AI ecosystem provider.
And this has massive implications for you, the consumer, in 2026, as these tech giants push these powerful AI agents into every corner of your life. ChatGPT becoming your digital butler, Google Search becoming an executive summary.
The presence of AI becomes seamless, yes, but also completely unavoidable.
And that inevitability is leading to a reaction, isn't it?
A predictable one. We're seeing a huge surge in demand for the AI-free label. It's becoming a new badge of authenticity, of luxury.
In art, in journalism, even in software, there's a rising premium on products that guarantee a human-only creation process.
The choice you face is no longer about whether AI is in your life, but how you engage with it and how much access you give these agents.
So 2026 won't be defined by some revolutionary AGI moment that wows everybody.
No, it'll be defined by the relentless, quiet effort of companies like Meta to embed AI into every single routine, every creative tool, and every conversation you have. It's the moment of maximum integration.
Which leaves us with a final thought to consider. If AI agents, like the ones from Manus, are poised to automate the very tasks that used to define professional competence, deep market research, writing complex code, what's the ultimate mark of skill in the near future? Will it be knowing precisely what task to delegate to your AI agent? Or will it be knowing when to insist on a human-only process just to maintain authenticity or depth?
Okay, I didn't expect the conversation to take so long. Okay, that's it for today. Right? I try to learn to improve and make the conversation more kind of cohesive and concise, not dragging on so much. But hopefully you got the message. Right? The major thing to take away is that Mark Zuckerberg, the Meta acquisition of Manus, it's a strategic move, right? Pivoting the business towards superintelligence as brain plus hands and some actions is the foundation of data, right? Glasses is on. It's something that we need to watch for, right? But for today, I need to head up to pick up children. We'll continue next time. Okay. Thank you.